Two rounds remain, and 4 drivers have a realistic shot at the title. But in a testament to Josh Conker's consistency, he leads the point while still seeking his first win of the season. In fact, the only driver who has more than one win on his stat sheet is a non-championship runner. Charlotte will be familiar ground for most of the competitors, but will any of them be able to use that to their advantage? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 9 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Chris Foby. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Charlotte Motor Speedway has been the scene of some of the most memorable moments in NASCAR history. Let's head to our track guide to learn more about it.
Welcome everybody to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Even though it was built more than 4 decades ago, drivers still love to race at this 1.5-mile quad-shaped oval. Located just a short 13-mile drive from downtown, Charlotte also shares a similar track shape to what you would see at the Texas Motor Speedway and the Atlanta Motor Speedway as well. Despite turns 1 and 2 having the same banking as turns 3 and 4, the two ends of the speedway could not drive any different. Turn 1 and 2 are much more of a sweeping corner, really carrying the speed down into the corner and trying to get that hole shot out of turn 2 down the backstretch. Turns 3 and 4 drive much tighter than 1 and 2, really having to get the car to rotate in the middle of 3 and 4 to make your entry and your exit point. Getting a lap in around here in one piece usually requires some calm nerves and a patient foot. Charlotte was one of the first speedways to install lights around the facility, giving night racing a whole new berth. Charlotte is also known for its place in the perfect day of racing every Memorial Day, acting as the caboose after the Monaco Grand Prix and the Indianapolis 500. If Daytona is the pinnacle of NASCAR racing, then Charlotte has to be just a bumper behind. Fans flock to the largest sports facility in the Southeast and NASCAR's home track. This has been our guide to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Chris, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out with how many of these guys probably have done countless laps around here.
Exactly. I mean, this is a track that we've probably all turned hundreds of laps on. For those of you that maybe aren't regular iRacers tuning in tonight, this track can be a bit challenging, even to the most experienced. It's very temperamental. Look for turn 4 to be a spot where it's going to reach out and bite you as you transition into the quad oval. And it's can be a little bit difficult to pass depending on the tire situation. So these guys, I think, will have their hands full tonight, but we should see a technically challenging race that should hopefully play out pretty well.
Well, and that race, of course, is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net.
The PRL NASCAR Truck Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. So that championship that I mentioned, with a number of drivers very tight here at the end, has Josh Conker leading the way, but it's only 5 points back to Elliott White. And then you see it's a tie for third between Hawley and Acosta. Acosta has been on a charge lately, having finally won his most recent race on the road course, of course, but can he back that up here? We'll have to wait and see. Thomas Sink only 22 points back. And honestly, you can go back to Doug Evans as a possible shot for the championship. But by that point, 29 points back, it's going to have to take a lot of the drivers in front of him having some really bad days in the remaining 2 rounds. Chris, I believe you've got the team's championship.
Yep, on the team side, the private label Team Hype Squad has expanded their lead after a pretty good performance last week with Abner Acosta taking the win. The Whataback Overdrive Racing team is in second still. A little bit of a gap opened up to Car Ramrod. And then ways back now to the Whataback Back Row Racing team in fourth. And then the Next Level Racing team breaking into the top 5, 209 points back.
We, of course, have our race details in case you're joining us for the first time. Welcome to what is a very exciting league. Race 9 out of 10. They do relatively short seasons, and they're usually pretty thrilling. 85 laps for today's event, but they also have no spare truck. So essentially, if you damage your truck, you have to come in and get repairs on that if you want it to be quick, especially around a fast place like this. It's a fixed setup, though, so they don't have to fiddle with any of that. And they do have an incident limit of 24 incidents where they will be disqualified if they reach that. We're waiting for that qualifying session to start for some of those bonus points, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Speaking of those incident points, one thing that struck me in this fight for the championship here, Chris, is our second place driver, Elliott White. He's only had 4 incidents. That's over the whole season. That is just incredible. Nobody else is close to that.
Yeah, Elliott White has just kind of snuck up on us this season. I believe this is his first season back with PRL in the Truck Series, and he has just, I mean, I want to say he came out of nowhere, but I mean, from the moment he stepped into the series, he's been right up towards the front and really showing his mettle this season.
Yeah, he missed the first round, which is why he's not quite doing as well as you would have expected and leading the charge, but he's been also just as consistent as Conker, honestly. Really, the struggle for him is that he can't take another drop week like anybody else can because it's taken up by that missed week when this season started. Of course, nobody can take a drop week on the final round, so this is the final race where everybody else is able to have a bad day and sort of get away with it. Speaking of Conker leading the way, though, he's actually the quickest in the warm-up right now, but Abner Acosta also fast today here in practice as he returns to the track.
And, you know, I had this feeling that once Abner got the monkey off his back, so to speak, and picked up that first win, I really think Abner's going to be a driver that we're going to see just break out and probably sneak away with a few wins here in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he's able to carry that momentum. Granted, it was at a road course last week at Circuit of the Americas, but that said, they also have a NASCAR Cup Car series that takes place on Sunday nights for the PRL. And Abner also won at Dover before that. So he's effectively won the last 3 Oval Series races here in the PRL. He's very much on a roll, and I wouldn't doubt that he's going to try and keep this up and push hard to the finish just to see if he can sneak a surprise championship in. Hawley, who has taken many of those championships, is 5th tonight in the warm-up session. And it's frankly pretty tight up at the top of the field. I'm looking at the separation of most of the times, and the top 11 are separated by just over a 1/10 of a second right now.
And you can see all pretty big names up there at the top. I mean, you have Danny Cervantes that's performing really well 4th quick in practice. But the rest of that top 5 is either our championship contenders or the guy that's won 4 consecutive races.
Yeah, so, and Richard Regan Jr., that's another stat that we should mention. I'm glad you brought him up, as he has not failed to to win a race that he showed up to all season. That's why he's not in the championship. He's taken 4 wins, but he's only showed up 4 times. So waiting for something to trip him up. The question is, can tonight be the night? As now the qualifying session finally gets going. And while we wait for the trucks to start to put a time in, this is a bit of an interesting one time-wise here, Chris, because it's a twilight race and it's already not too hot of conditions. What do you think that's going to do for the trucks as things continue to cool in the sunsets?
Well, I mean, as we get cooler, the trucks are going to go faster. The track will rubber in, and when it's colder conditions, these trucks do like to go a little bit quicker. So it'll go a little bit faster, but you got to wonder too if there may be a little less adhesion on the track and could also lead to some more incidences.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me, honestly, is the restarts, especially if they wind up on old tires. Doug Evans looks like he's going to be our first one to set a time in that 41 as he comes down the back stretch, flying into 3 and 4, trying to get this thing wound up around this relatively steep banking, this 1.5 miles that was the 1.5 miles before that was a cookie cutter track. And he puts down a time of 30.4. Everybody else now looking to match it.
Danny Cervantes popping in second quick so far, 0.2 back of Evans. He had a really strong performance in practice, but Elliott White now jumps up to second quick as Doug Evans is going to come around to get his second lap time here in just a moment.
He's still holding that provisional pole. Only 4 drivers. I wonder if the rest of them are waiting for the sun to go down that little bit more, if they can get that edge over everybody else. And he does not improve. And in fact, Josh Conker very quickly overtakes him by 0.5 tenth.
Well, that's another one I can't say I'm too surprised to see head to the top. He was quickest in practice, and Josh Conker is one of those drivers that is just a winner in waiting.
We see Nick Hunter sitting in 7th, coming around on his second flyer. Oh, but he's hard into the wall. This lap won't count no matter how fast it is, unfortunately. So 7th is the best he's going to see, which right now is actually the slowest of the timed laps that anybody has set. And there's still a whole chunk of people that have yet to go. Looks like Jim Westerfield is actually to go below Nick Hunter, so that's some consolation for him. This is Charles Sumner on the screen in the 98 car Ramrod team machine. So he takes that Tropicana orange liveried truck out to the start finish line for the first flying lap. Let's see what it is. A 30.905. And that's not a terribly quick one. That'll put him in 11th for the time being. Westerfield's second lap much quicker. He goes up to 4th.
I did notice Charles was running at the top in turns 3 and 4. I wonder if some of these drivers are maybe putting some faith in the momentum game, trying to keep these trucks wound up on the first lap so that they can have a rail flyer on the second.
Ooh, that's an interesting observation. Abner Acosta up for 3rd on his first timed lap. That's ahead of Daniel Knight, who also puts one down into 4th. Bradley Hawley now 7th on his first timed lap. Wonder if he's one of those that was trying to ride the high side a little bit there, get the car wound up and rolling, shuffle down to 8th as he comes around for the second one. 9th now, as many drivers are finding quicker times in these dying stages of the qualifying. Can the multi-time champion do better? He does by 1/10, and that will actually not put him up any higher. He's still in 10th place.
It looks like we have some changes up at the top of the charts. Daniel Knight up to pole, Abner Acosta up to 2nd, Regan 3rd. So Josh Conker, his pole time now getting shuffled back to 4th.
30.299. Pole goes to Richard Regan Jr. He is ready to continue that trend. Only 30 seconds left, and we have 2 drivers that have yet to set a single time. Kohanek and Zemke looks like they will not get out on track. Mark Kalin, who sits in 22nd, does have enough time to finish this second go.
Let's give a quick call out to Baron Hilton, 5th place on the...
Ow. Yeah, that is unusually high for him. 30.452. And Kalen goes up to 10th. Wow, where did Baron Hilton suddenly find a whole chunk of speed? He's usually at least a mid-packer, though he has snuck in some podiums here and there. We'll get some time to talk about that. In the meantime, it is time to read out the grid. So let's go through that starting order. Richard Regan Jr. with the pole, taking those 2 bonus points away from all the championship hopefuls in the process. Daniel Knight starts in second, Abner Acosta in third. Josh Conker on the outside of that second row, followed by, as we mentioned, Baron Hilton, a tip of the hat to that 47, as Thomas Sink will start from 6th and Adam Shane 7th. Then it's Doug Evans on the outside of that row in 8th. Elliott White, unusually far down for him, in 9th, and Mark Kalen rounding out your top 10.
Just outside of the top 10 is going to be our defending champion Bradley Holly. Another tough qualifying session for him. Charles Sumner is going to be to his outside. Row number 7 will be Jim Westerfield with Patrick Cowgill to his outside. 15th on the grid is going to be Danny Cervantes, followed by Mike Richter. Then Austin Hunter and Stacy Hunter comprising row number 9. Colton Lane 19th, and then Brett Adams completing your top 20 starters.
Last 4 is Nick Hunter in 21st, Dalton Garr in 22nd, and then our 2 that we mentioned that did not set a time, Zemke and Kulhanik. So 24 going to be taking part here in this 85-lap race here today, and I believe we have some onboards as well. So let's take a look at some of those. Let's see who we've got up first. Looks like this is Nick Hunter, or Austin Hunter rather, that we've got on screen. And looks like he is ready to go. Richard Regan Jr. in his usual VR set, looking pretty happy, ready to race himself, just checking his shifter. And we've got Patrick Cowgill back once again. I did get information from him that on what that door does. I actually need to go back and double check the text that he sent me. I'll go and read that, and we'll try and get that in at some point this race. And I believe Bradley Holly back once again, trying to see if he can take yet another championship tonight. Getting those headphones on as the pace truck takes off.
Still wearing his lucky shirt, I noticed.
Yeah, he actually is. So let's hope that does bring him luck tonight. And looking through, so here's the words from Patrick. Says it's a front door, but it's a secondary front door that they don't use. And the room where his rig is considered a breezeway. So that's why he's got a front door looking entryway next to his racing rig that always kind of confused us.
See, I figured it was just for when he got mad, he could just open the door and stick his head out and scream.
That's not a bad idea, honestly. Only get 1 pace lap here in this 1.5 mile circuit, so we're getting ready to go racing here for the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, and Richard Regan in the number 46, trying to make it 5 out of 5 for his attendance in this series. Or can Abner Acosta deny him here today for the first time this season? Or could we see a shocker with Baron Hilton making good on his speed? Pace truck peels in. Regan waits on it. Gives it a good wait, checking everybody up. Green flag is out, and he accelerates away here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Round 9 sees all the cars start to slowly pick up speed. Up on the high side, Daniel Knight finally dropping back through 1 and 2, and he immediately ducks to the bottom side.
Yeah, it's going to be the best spot for him right now. He's going to peek to the outside, though, as they get a run down the back straightaway. That's going to open the door for Josh Conker to stick his nose in there, Joe. And I think in these early laps, problems for the 46.
Whoa! What was that? And are we going to get away with it? No, we're not. Wrecking along the front stretch. Kalen involved in it. A number of drivers, some of them across the grass. I see Baron Hilton. Poor Baron after that fantastic qualifying. So what caused that from Regan?
It looks like he might have caught the apron with the left front here.
Let me go back and look, because I don't remember seeing him dropping below that line. Yeah, let's watch from this angle. See if he touches the blue line at all. No, that happened. Truck was just not up to temperatures, I guess. And he caught it fantastically, but unfortunately, looks like a lot of people involved. That was Thomas Sink that he got into. We're watching on board with Hilton. Tries to slow it up. Oh, and just, yeah.
You got to feel for Barron too, Joe. I mean, it looked like he had a world of potential for today's run.
A couple other drivers that went for a wild ride is Adam Shane and Elliott White, actually, spinning through the infield. And I think, trying to check and see if who that was that spun off, because someone I think may have hit the wall pretty hard here. Adam Shane was the one.
Yeah, it looks like he's already retired from the event.
Oh man, he just had horrible luck, to be honest. That one gap that allows you to get back into the garage area in the pits, he slid into and hit directly into the wall, into the pit wall. So yeah, that's why he took a tow and has called it a day immediately. Surprisingly, we're seeing a bunch of drivers come in.
Well, I noticed Regan's coming in, but I figure he probably has some damage that he needs to get fixed up.
Yeah, so, okay, so that makes sense. That could be the drivers that got involved. Knight stays out, Conquer, Acosta, Evans, Holly, Richter. So yeah, it looks like those who managed to avoid it. Well, this is going to make it a lot harder for Richard Regan to continue his trend. And he's taken a lot of repairs. Others are easily out in front of him. And I expect this will certainly open the door for guys like Knight, Conquer, Acosta to try and finally stop him and help their championship hopes.
Yeah, I imagine all those guys that are in the championship that that Richard may have taken some points off of this season are probably happy to see the 46 sitting on pit road right there.
So the ones that are involved in that championship hunt, though, that were also a part of that wreck aren't that happy. Elliott White, one of them, looks like he had to stop in for a little bit of repairs. Thomas Sink as well. Who else do we have among the top runners? I think those are the two main ones. Because, yeah, Acosta and Holly got by, and so did Conquer. So disaster avoided for a few of them, but not so for others.
Well, if anything, it'll be a nice change of complexion for this race. I definitely had a predisposition for what I thought this was going to be like. And already it's gone completely different. So we should be in for a surprising rest of this race.
And Daniel Knight's going to have control of the field this time as they double up. Very quick caution, but in the strangest turn of events, one of the fastest and perhaps most skillful drivers that we have seen in this series spins the car, or nearly spins the car, and gets involved in a wreck on lap 1. Can Daniel Knight avoid that? I almost wonder if it was a bit of the tires, Chris, if things are just a little cold.
I know personally I struggle with turns 3 and 4 here on cold tires, and while Richard Regan is obviously a significantly better driver than I am, it can definitely catch you out if you're not prepared for it.
Good news for Richard is he got back out on the lead lap, but he is restarting from 21st, so a lot of trucks to try and overtake to get in contention. We still don't know how this is going to play out. He could get some cautions going his way, or he just might be that fast that he could claw his way past that many drivers. Here goes the base truck, and Daniel Knight waits for it. He goes a lot earlier. Big jump for the 17 as the green flag waves. This allows Abner Acosta, even with his damage, to have a little bit of an inside run on Josh Conquer down into turn 1.
Yeah, definitely left the door wide open for Abner. He's actually going to have the advantage as they come off of turn 2, and he'll actually have Conquer cleared, so give second position to Abner. So a really good start out of the 5.
It's Brett Adams down low, a lap down, so he's just trying to stay out of the way of everybody else. Holly now fighting a little bit here with Josh Conquer as the 54 is getting shuffled backwards. Now that damage that we can see on the rear of Acosta, how costly do you think that'll be around a track this fast?
You know, it actually, from this angle, really doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to be, so I don't think he'll be as hurt as we expect. I mean, it obviously shoved that spoiler up a little bit, and that may create a little bit more drag, which could slow him down a little bit. But right now, especially following in the wake of the 17, I really don't think it's going to be that bad for Abner.
So far, so good. He's dropped off a little bit, but it's not dramatic. So down into 1 and 2. Top 4 starting to pull away. A little bit of a tussle back behind them. Doug Evans, Mike Richter. Oh, no, that's not a tussle. That's Brett Adams still getting lapped, making life a little bit annoying for some of our front runners.
Yeah, this is a surprisingly narrow track compared to the other 1.5 miles that we race on. And it's really easy for lapped cars to get in the way here because you can run so many different grooves here that it's very unlikely that when you're lapped, you're going to be out of everybody's way.
Watching Cowgill now, running the bottom line. Comparatively, Richter right up at the top. And that actually, it looks like a much better run from Mike. He's going to get a charge on the 41 of Evans. Gets to his inside, down through 3 and 4, but he's got to finish the pass up now.
I'll tell you what, Joe, that early caution definitely shuffled things up through the field. I mean, we have Bradley Holly already up to 4th from 16th, and Richter's right behind him up to 5th. He started 16th, and he's already into the top 5.
Yeah, those who were good taking evasive action certainly managing to take advantage of that. So Richter gets by Evans, and now Cowgill, that you saw doing the same for a little bit as we look at the 17 of Daniel Knight, still pulling along the 3 behind him. Cowgill did get that position back there in 6th place. He's also up quite a few, 14th to 6th right now. Ooh, a little bit of a charge from Hawley. Taking a look on the inside of the 54. Decides not to do it, though. 184 just going to ride behind. He's got a lot of laps if he feels like he's got the pace. He doesn't necessarily have to pass quite yet. Oh, look, a little shaky off of 4.
It definitely seems like the aggression has turned up out of Bradley Holly here in the early laps of this race. Almost like a shark that sees blood in the water.
Oh, here he goes. He is not content to sit around. He gets the launch off of 2. He's going to get to the inside of the 54, and there's the give of the give and take as Conker just lets him have it and slots back into 4th.
You can definitely tell it's still early here, especially at the top of the field. Those 4 drivers playing nice with each other. As we get a little bit deeper in this one and the pay window opens, these guys will not be as nice.
For some reason, this 41 has continually bled places since this restart. I don't see any serious damage, at least from my perspective. So I'm not sure why everybody is just rushing past him.
I wonder if maybe trying to avoid the incident, maybe he scuffed up the tires or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, definitely looks like he struggled since we've gone back green.
Yeah, he was up within the top 4 or 5 and is already down to 9th here. Ooh, and is Bradley Holly looking for another one? Not quite. He's giving a big old push to Abner Acosta, though, his old rival, making sure that he's got enough speed to keep up with Knight.
And there he goes, taking a look as we get to the front stretch, Joe.
Wow, Holly definitely looking a lot better than his qualifying implied. Acosta pops way up towards the wall and just slots back in. Ooh, gets a great slingshot off the corner. Doesn't elect to use it. Holly now up into 2nd after qualifying in 11th today. Wonder if Knight's at all concerned with the way he's just been able to go by cars like they're standing still.
You know, it's funny because after qualifying, I thought maybe Bradley was going to be a non-factor today. And he has quickly proven me wrong. And it looks like Mike Richter back there might be trying to make a move on Abner. No, actually, Abner's on the outside of Conker.
I think Richter did get by him because Acosta was in 3rd after just being passed by Bradley Holly. But this kind of goes back to what we felt like we saw earlier in the season with Abner. Just he would have great first halves of stints, and then suddenly things would start to fall away from him. He proved that wrong back in Dover, where he had fantastic end of the stint speed. Wonder if maybe the lessons kind of fell to the ether, unfortunately, as he's already in 4th place.
This is a track that can be really tricky on tires. We all remember the headaches they went through in the real world with the surface here, and it's not always the easiest to wrap your head around on the iRacing surface either.
Speaking of surprises, I've been kind of glancing back at Richard Regan Jr. every once in a while. He's made up a few spots, but he's only to 17th. I would have thought that maybe he would have made up more than that, as we're going to watch from on board.
I actually was keeping an eye on him as well, and yeah, it's kind of shocking to see that he's just kind of been languishing back there. And another driver that's really not gone too far up since the restart is Elliott White, who restarted back there with Regan, and he's just been kind of hanging out back there. He's actually been passed by Regan. And it looks like he just tagged the wall out of 4. So Elliott White having a very uncharacteristic day for him today.
Wonder if both of them may be suffering a little bit of damage and don't have the best handling trucks, unfortunately. Well, let's jump back up to some battling. Ooh, side-by-side battling that's getting feisty between the 35 and the 312. And I think they had a little contact coming into 3, but they got away with it. These two have been side-by-side for a number of laps. This is Westerfield, who's got his hands full with Hunter.
Yeah, Westerfield trying to take the long way around here, which isn't always the easiest spot to pass at. But it looks like it's working for him so far. He's got a little advantage heading off into 3.
And we've seen the momentum off the corners is usually pretty big. Ooh, almost looked like we get a 3-wide moment. Austin had to drift up, obviously breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief as he felt just as nervous as us.
Yeah, that turn 4 here just gets so tight when you transition onto the front straightaway. And yeah, that was a nervous moment for me here. I definitely caught my breath.
Let's go back to Hawley and Knight, because he has reeled in Daniel, and it's down to about 1/10 of a second. He had tremendous speed coming down the backstretch last time. Decided not to try and attack. Let's see if he does it this time.
You know, sometimes Bradley is content to stay in that 2nd position, so I wouldn't be too shocked if he hangs out there for a little bit, but he is definitely not giving Daniel Knight much breathing room.
A little bit of a blink behind him from Josh Conker. Looks like that's settled out, thankfully. Top 4 already 7/10 of a second ahead of Mike Richter, who is another 1.5 seconds ahead of Patrick Cowgill back in 6th. So now that we've had some green flag racing, the wheat is being separated from the chaff.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know what a chaff is. Is that what you use Gold Bond on?
Well played, sir. Well, these guys are itching to get to the front themselves. Here, coming close to 25 laps into this 85-lap event. Wonder when we'll start to see green flag stops. Who will feel like it's worth it to try and come in on those old tires to get a little bit of fresh rubber and get some pace? Still nothing from the 184. Not willing to get aggressive, at least at this point, on Daniel Knight. But he seems like he's got the speed to make this not the most difficult of overtakes if he really wanted to. So I'm starting to get the sense of what you were saying, where he's intentionally just hanging back, saving his stuff, saving some fuel, and seeing how the race plays out.
Definitely would not be out of character for the 184.
So right now, your top 4 that you've been watching on screen here is Knight, Hawley, Conker, and Acosta. Settling into this race, seeing what comes to them. For fans of Baron Hilton, the good news is he is back out and running, trying to make up for his unfortunately opening lap incident. There you see him on screen now.
Yeah, I was really bummed to see him caught up in that lap 1 incident there. He had qualified so well, and just a tough break for him in the 47.
Back to Sink, who is fighting with guys like Zemke, Westerfield, and looks like Austin Hunter's still involved. They're being joined by Colton Lane, too. A whole clump of trucks. We're going to watch from the nose of Lane now. Ooh, side by side now between Sink and the 35 of Westerfield. Coming off of 2, the high side for Jim is going to allow him to get fully past Sink by the time they get into 3, but he once again likes that high side. He'll continue to ride it. Will the 48 be able to get in front of him? Yes, he will.
These are all a group of drivers, Joe, that have a lot of potential to make a lot out of today if a couple things fall their way. So there's definitely a lot on the line for these guys.
No doubt about that. Through 1 and 2 once again. Ooh, and Austin wanted to go upwards, but Westerfield was there. Just couldn't drift to the outside with that truck still hanging out. Looks like Danny Cervantes now joining in on the fun on top of things. Ooh, a switch back there for the 35, but he runs out of space. Oh, and a battle for the lead. Hollies to the inside of Knights. Down through 1 and 2. Now's the time to go, he says. And into turn 3. Can he complete the pass? He's going to chuck it in. Oh, almost looked like it got a little loose on the entry. Can he keep it pointed the right direction? He does. Inches between them through the corner.
But as of yet, still not clear of the 17.
He did lead that lap. Once again, tries to go in as hard as he can. Wow, that is brave from Daniel. He is pinching him down now on top of things. Extreme trust between these two, have raced against one another countless times.
Yeah, Daniel Knight keeping close to that quarter panel, trying to get the side draft going and slowing him down. He hasn't been able to get back by, but it looks like Holly's going to be clear now. Knight ducks to the inside, but not able to get underneath.
Man, Bradley is just a machine. He cut down in front of him, and there was just no expression change whatsoever. It didn't even look like he glanced in his mirrors. He just came down when he heard the clear.
You know, like they call Kimi Räikkönen the Iceman. I think Bradley Holly would be a candidate for that nickname as well. Just no change in expression, just calm, cool, and collected. He could just as easily be mowing the lawn as he is passing for the lead here at Charlotte.
Well, the machine quip, I was thinking that he needs to be the Terminator. It just kills everybody else's hopes. Sumner fighting with Cowgill now for 5th place. Getting underneath him. 2 drivers up from the mid-pack, taking advantage of the opening melee. They're going to go by another lap truck. Kulhanek down at the bottom, just making sure to let all of them through nice and easy. Both of them riding the middle lane through 3 and 4, bottom side for Zemke. Zemke and Sink, rather. Actually looks like Zemke's going to try that middle line too now a little bit. And they all fan out down into 1 and 2. Cowgill on the high side, the 98 on the low side. I love how the track's grip and all the different cars on the latest tire models have been operating on this oval side, Chris. The way that they've been able to utilize different lines has been something to behold.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was a bit concerned because the racing on 1.5 miles were really good before they did the latest update. But looks like the tire model's kind of making up for the differences they've made in the aero package.
Absolutely. Oh, and absolutely firing out of a cannon. Cowgill is now clear. Down below, Sumner trying to see if he can hold back Zemke in the 57, but looks like the high side almost kind of coming in a bit now.
It's definitely racier at this point than I expected it to be, and we are getting a lot of 2-wide racing.
Let's stay here, but an update. Hawley has not been able to drop Knight. They're still racing very close, but they're not side by side. So the lead is staying tight. This is looking like one of our more likely candidates to cause a caution. Whoa, getting way down low. What is Cervantes doing back there?
Looks like he's trying to find some space to race wherever, just about wherever he can. He went about 8 grooves down to the very inside of the track there.
Things are getting really dicey here. Somebody's going to make a move that is ill-advised at some point, and I feel like we're going to get some yellow laundry, but so far so good. And Cowgill continues to lead the way as Sink now gives a go at trying to overtake him, fails. Oh, 57 wanted to move down, and 98 is down below him. Sumner says, no, you don't. And interestingly, Richard Regan Jr. Could be approaching behind them pretty soon. He's battling for 13th. He actually just got on the radio. Seemed a little irked that he was battling for 13th, frankly. Off the high side, the 31. Carrying the, whoa, the 60. Wow. Absolutely juking around. And he is going to get himself down to the inside of the 57 with that move. Guys are just taking wherever there's an opening.
They don't call him Mr. Excitement for nothing. Colton Lane just absolutely taking our breath away there, Joe. Just anywhere there's room, he is shoving the nose of that truck.
Down to the inside, the Whataback number 48 machine. Can't quite finish the job on Patrick Cowgill. Doing a phenomenal bit of defensive driving here, preventing everybody behind him from being able to make up more positions, but now the job's finally done. Sink is through. I heard, I think Kalen announced that he's pitting in, and yes, he has. So this could be the start of our green flag stops.
Yeah, this could very well be the door opening for the pit window here as Kalen ducks to pit road. I'll be interested in seeing who follows suit.
He's got to hope that this crazy racing here in the mid-pack doesn't bring out a caution while he's trapped a lap down or two. As they come past the line once again. So now that Sink is clear, can he shake off all these trailing trucks? Another one trying to go by the 31 of Cowgill. This time it's Patrick Lane, with as aggressive as he's been. I certainly wouldn't want to try and fight him too hard, and maybe once he gets a run, just let him by.
Yeah, these guys are, I mean, gosh, they're taking every opening there is. I mean, how close these guys are. It's amazing that we haven't had a caution from this little group right here. Just a testament to the skill level here in the PRL Truck Series.
That was Westerfield that you saw popping into the pits in the background as we check back in on our top two. Now, this is interesting. Hawley and Knight, who appear to be working together, have dropped Acosta by about half a second. Conker similarly behind by about half a second. We're watching from onboard Abner. They're split by a lapped truck. That is simply Nick Hunter. Ooh, Adam Zemke in. He was a part of that big group, so he sees some value in trying to get away from all the insanity.
He also might have just needed to catch his breath at this point, Joe.
Well, pit stop is a good time for that. And looks like he hit his marks cleanly. Where's Kalen now? Kalen still needs to come around. Back to the front, though. And across the line yet again. 7/10 back to Acosta. Well, it looks like Elliott White has pit, so he won't be able to catch that group. Zemke coming out, and where is Kalen? Kalen was behind him. Ooh, the undercut is looking very powerful because Kalen is a mile away from Zemke.
Well, this could definitely be a wrinkle. Looks like Richard Regan Jr. is heading to pit road also.
Austin Hunter is. Yeah, I see Regan Jr. in there, Thomas Sink. So a lot of drivers are now responding. At what point do our top runners decide they're at risk of losing position? Getting a little bit of a chug of water. Austin Hunter, while he gets the tires replaced and the fuel pumped into his car. 312 is away. Daniel Knight is in. Here come the front runners now.
I'm sure they've been hearing about how quick the change of tires has made some of these drivers, so definitely don't want to wait too long.
Holly responds. Holly is in as well. Acosta follows. Conker gains a lot of time. In fact, Conker was very close to losing the truck. Let's take a look at that one. Looks like we won't be able to get that one. Unfortunately, just missed out on it. But both of them are clean into their pit stalls. We're still waiting on Cervantes, Richter, Geyer, and Evans to pit. So our highest pitter right now is Daniel Knight. Holly's actually coming out. There's Holly. Where is Knight? This is the onboard for Daniel Knight, and Brad's still getting up to speed. This is going to be close. How much time did Knight make up? He had lost quite a bit during that last stint, and as the time evens out, it is 0.8 of a second. However, he is now on 1 lap older tire, so that's not significant at all, honestly. I thought that he had pitted a lot earlier.
Yeah, I think Bradley came in the lap after Daniel.
Wow, so that 1 lap was worth that much. Knight was, I want to say, a good 1.5 seconds behind. So where's our drivers who pitted super early? Westerfields is up to 8th. Zemke is up to 10th. And we mentioned Kalen, the first of those to take a stop. He is up to 6th and was actually ahead of Conker. Wow.
Yeah, the undercut was particularly powerful for Kalen.
Watching from on board that 62. That's Conker now leaving him in the dust since he has 6 lap fresher tires himself. 7 lap fresher, actually. So Richter pits, but Evans is playing the long game. 41 has yet to stop. Let's see if he comes in this time or if he's committed. Nope, that Ford is rolling. And he is of no mind to end his momentum at this point. So he'll now take our lead, but not forever. He will have to come in eventually. If he gets a yellow flag, though, he'll have trapped a good 4 or 5 trucks a lap down. Daniel Knight now trying to use those 1 lap fresher tires to see if he can attack Bradley Holly. He's got it within 0.5 seconds. Riding on board with Holly there in 2nd place. Now we watch from the 2nd place driver's perspective. In that pit sequence, also want to point out that Regan is up to 12th, possibly up to 11th, depending on what happens with Evans. So Regan still coming back into things. In fact, let's see. He is 25 seconds behind the leader. That's going to be a tall order. Not impossible, especially if he gets a yellow somewhere around here.
I was going to say, if he gets a caution, this could change things, because he has looked really fast since he got back underway, and definitely still a chance at being a threat here.
Evans finally made the call. He can't go any farther. He's pitting in. So Brad will re-inherit the lead. Curious where Evans will come out, since he spent so many laps on those older tires. He's, of course, going to see it swing back a little bit since he's now going to have the fresh ones. There goes Holly. Knight on through. Acosta as well into third place. Oh, Evans missed it. Evans missed his stall by a long shot. Well, there goes that. As we look at the replay, thought maybe this would help him. Oof.
Nope, just locked him up trying to get into his stall and unfortunately slid right through.
His team probably had the camo liveried suits like his paint scheme, so he just couldn't see them.
You know, I've been trying to work in a camo joke about that truck all night, and I'm kind of mad you beat me to it.
I'm kind of proud of that one, to be honest. As we look at Acosta now, 3 seconds behind the leader, and on the same strategy as Holly, came in on the same lap. He sits behind Daniel Knight by 2.5 seconds, but he's perhaps more concerned about the one behind him, Josh Conker, starting to threaten.
And this is what's got Conker into the position he's in the championship, Joe. He maybe isn't the fastest truck out there, but he's making the most out of these days when he isn't the fastest. And still hanging out there in the top 5, and if all continues on as it is, he'll bank another solid points finish.
Just saw a pass there for Zemke, being overtaken by Sink. Snuck to the inside. Almost can't tell if the 57 maybe facilitated it, because it looked like he lifted a little in the corner. That 48 was through somewhat easily. So we're at 16 cars still on the lead lap. Poor Evans did go a lap down after his mistake in his long run there. Lane just overtook Westerfield, I think. Yep, so that's Lane moving up. He's actually, yeah, no, he is on fresher tires. So Lane on 14 lap older tires compared to Westerfield 16. Credit for Adam Zemke, though he did not qualify. He's gone from 23rd to 6th. Ooh, and White now with Cowgill. Now, how did Cowgill wind up all the way down here? Oh, well, that might be something to do with it. You hit the wall like that, and you'll certainly be slow.
Yeah, I've heard that hitting the wall is not great for your progress in motorsports.
Is that what I've been doing wrong?
Yeah, it turns out all that hitting the wall we've been doing is what's keeping us from being pros.
Okay, so Elliott White up to 13th, actually following Regan through. Regan up to 12th. He's got about 2 seconds to make up to Cervantes. What kind of pace has he been running? Is this comparable to the leaders? 31.6, 31.3 just out of the pit stops. Hawley out of the pit stops, 30.8, 31.1. Oh, no, he's suffering from the damage, I think. So Regan not as quick. And, oh, to the inside. Conker had a look. Acosta going to fend him off. That's a third lapped truck. That's not for position. Brett Adams, though, looks like he wants to try and overtake. He is on the freshest tires amongst those three. Down to the bottom side, the 54 manages to get the overlap, and Acosta's just going to lift and let him have it.
Conker is looking strong here in the late stages of this race, Joe.
Yeah, Conker's still looking for that victory, but he is 3.7 seconds away from Hawley. And Hawley looks to be the fastest man on track currently. A full second ahead of Daniel Knight in second place. Unless we get another caution, it's not looking like many people have the pace to try and challenge that 184 here at Charlotte.
You know, on pace, it looks like at least that last time by that Daniel Knight was pretty close to Holly, but giving up still a little bit of time, Joe, and unfortunately that all adds up.
A little bit of a pass for Cervantes over Kalen, bumping himself up into 10th. And this is the price that the 62 is starting to pay. He was the first one, and his tires are getting oldest the quickest.
I will say, though, I think he's still going to come out ahead from how he was running before the pit stop. So this might end up working out in the end for Mark Kalen.
Well, it's a racy track today. We've seen a lot of overtakes. I'm not sure that track position is going to be the end-all, be-all. So we take a look at our 5th place runner. Will track position be important here? Colton Lane has run him down. He is going to try and see if he can get an overtake in as we hop on board with Thomas.
Well, Colton Lane has looked particularly racy today, so would not be surprised to see him break up into the top 5.
Lane up from a 19th starting position, and that was his qualifying. Let me check to see. Yeah, he had both laps too. For some reason, he just couldn't get it hooked up on 1 lap pace, but under race pace, that truck is certainly looking like a treat to drive. 20 laps to go now as Bradley Hawley leads the way and extends his gap to 1.5 seconds over Daniel Knight, up to 4 seconds over Josh Conker. Hawley might be our first driver other than Regan to take multiple wins this season.
It's definitely looking promising for him at this point.
And the best news for him is that White is still down in 13th. He's the one ahead of him in points right now, so White will probably drop a chunk. And then Conker won't drop as many, but he will beat him as there's a 3-point difference, I believe. Let me double check my points table on that.
Taking a look back, Colton Lane once again stalking the 48 of Thomas Sink. They're running 2 different lines there on entry into the corner, but Thomas Sink pulls it down to the bottom on exit. And that later apex seems to be helping with his drive off, at least this time by, because he's able to pull a little bit of a gap on the 60 as they head down the front stretch.
And it is 2 points difference between first and third before you get the pole position involved. That went to Richard Regan Jr. That's an extra 2 points, so he gets that. None of our leaders are going to claim that one. From there, the other bonus points to worry about are most laps led, leading lap, fastest lap, and whether or not you get called on a caution. If you are deemed at fault for a caution, that takes away some bonus points. Danny Cervantes has dropped Kalen, dropped Westerfields. Now he is attacking Charles Sumner. 2-lap fresher tires. UPS truck hauling the mail today. And is he going to try and make it down into turn 1? He's going to get his nose in.
Yeah, look at that speed on the bottom. Looks like he's about to mark the 98 return to sender.
And that will give him 8th position. It's half a second up to Zemke. Almost looked like there was going to be a return attack from Sumner, but he thought better of it. Looks like he wants to run his own race. 15 laps to go now for our drivers. And we have, as DW would like to say, Chris, comers and goers.
There's definitely some interesting names creeping up towards the front of the field right now. And Acosta with a great run on the 54. Did he possibly catch the wall or something? Because Acosta just passed him going into the corner like he was sitting still.
Yeah, and I thought we saw the 54 overtake him not that many laps ago. So I'm checking. I'm not seeing anything drastic. Just looked like he got taken in. So up to third, Abner Acosta. Is he suddenly getting faster here at the end? Is he able to maybe try and make a push and close down on that 4.5 second gap to Bradley Hawley?
You know, far be it for me to hope for any misfortune on anybody in the field, but man, if we had a caution right now, the way everybody's race has evolved at this point, could you imagine everybody starting right up next to each other with the way this race has evolved?
Oh, it'll change complexion, but I think we'll see a lot of drivers come in for tires immediately unless we get down to the last, 6 laps or so. Even then, almost looks like it would be worth it. And they should still have 2 sets left, I believe. Everybody, pretty much. A couple drivers have been in twice, but those who have usually came in for repairs. Cervantes already on Zemke. You blink and you miss it.
Yeah, the 25 is definitely hauling the mail today, Joe.
So as he catches up to the back of the 57, does he attack immediately? Is he also trying to save a little bit before he uses up his stuff? Coming down to 10 to go soon. Chances are running out. We've had a single caution on the first lap of this race and haven't seen one since. The front of the field, I can tell you that Hawley is already 2.5 seconds ahead of Knight, but let's keep our attention on the 25. Almost feel like a top 5 might be doable for Danny Cervantes. Started from 15th on the grid. He's still sizing up Zemke. Doesn't seem like he feels confident enough right now. Is he waiting for a good chance where maybe could spy a mistake? Not this time.
Yeah, if he definitely keeps this pace up, Joe, would not be shocked to see him pull out a few more positions here before the end of this race. He has absolutely been flying the last several laps.
Down to the inside. Can he make this one stick? Zemke doesn't defend, though he does have the momentum of that high line that has allowed some trucks to slingshot past their rivals. Doesn't look like it's doing that on these older tires. He tries it yet again, but the high line is not good anymore. Cervantes up to 7th. Ten laps to go. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, he's got quite a bit of time to make up if he wants to catch up to Colton Lane.
So Zemke just got overtaken by Sumner now. So Charles into 8th. Doesn't need to worry about Richard Regan, who's cracked the top 10. He's 5 seconds behind, so he's got a lot of ground to make up. We're going to take a look at Richard now. See what he has underneath him. Last couple laps, 32.6, 32.8. Pretty consistent there. What does that compare to? Oh, excuse me, I was looking at Zemke, I think. 32.5, 32.5 for Regan. Marginally faster. Might not be enough, though, with this few laps left.
You know, those are 2 drivers on screen right now that just have to be kicking themselves for what happened on the opening laps. I think those are 2 drivers that definitely had potential to win, and just unfortunately that incident that they both got caught up in cost them a lot of time, but it's definitely going to be more costly for Elliott White. We talked about it at the top of the show. He missed the first race, so he does not have a drop week to fall back on, Joe, so he's going to have to eat this finish, which 11th is still pretty solid, and it's definitely looking better than it was at one point. But he's definitely given up some championship points to the other contenders today.
Yeah, it'll make life tougher in those final stages. As we take a look at Bradley Hawley now, leading the way, looking set to win his 2nd of the season. But it isn't over. He still has to navigate for a couple more laps. Just 5 more to go. And who would have thought, if you would have told me that the winning streak that Regan has been on would stop when he made a driver error and lost control on lap 1 of one of the most used ovals on iRacing. I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah, Bradley has completely changed what I thought was going to happen at the start of this race.
5 laps to go. And Cervantes, wow, so Sumner not giving up on Danny. He's making him work for this 7th place. You can see the orange car basically keeping him honest and running the high side. See if that works better for him than a few in these last few laps. Coming down to 3 to go now for Bradley Holly, still a full 4 seconds ahead of Daniel Knight. Ooh, almost had a little bit of action between Sink and Lane. I think Lane maybe was able to get to the inside one stage. Coming across the line, less than 1/10 of a second splitting them. This is for a 5th position.
Well, that's a bumper full of Colton Lane right there.
Certainly is. Ooh, and he's going to look to the inside. So the 48 is going to be overtaken. Maybe Sink's going to fight him off. Feeling good about this one. He wants that top 5. He wants that stat. But before he gets that, he is going to have to witness a victory. 1 more to go for Bradley Holly. We're going to ride on board. Almost looked like a sigh of relief there. I think this has been just as tough for him with only that single caution. Had to work out the strategy under green flag stops. He did so masterfully. Came right back in the lead. Picked the perfect time. And as he comes into 3 and 4, he could just about coast to victory. Bradley Holly is going to increase his chances for a championship as he wins here tonight at round 9, the Charlotte Motor Speedway in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. Knight takes 2nd. Josh Conker still can't get himself a win, but he'll get another podium with 3rd. Costa with a 4th place. Sink did get that top 5. Cervantes 7th. Oh, it was close between White and Regan. This was 4 thousandths of a second at the line, and White took it. Could that be valuable points in the championship hunt? This is the finish. Our winningest driver this season on the outside, and coming into this race, 2nd place in the points on the inside. Just got the shot, Chris, and he edges him out.
And the 46 definitely made him work for it there at the end, but Elliott White able to just barely eke it out to get in that top 10 finish.
That's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. So while Holly burns it down, we'll take our own little rest. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Round 9 in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series saw Bradley Hawley back up to his usual spot with victory from 11th on the grid. I'll have to ask him about that qualifying, what happened there. Daniel Knight was second, exactly where he started, with Josh Conker claiming another podium. Can't continue the streak this time. Abner Acosta with 4th today, and Thomas Sink, a well-earned top 5, holding off Colton Lane, who qualified 19th. Incredible speed for the 60. Cervantes as well, up to 7th for him. Charles Sumner, I think he deserves a pat on the back. That's one of the better ones we've seen from him, in 8th, with Zemke finishing 9th, and Elliott White sneaking in a top 10 to try and keep his championship hopes from slipping away.
Just barely outside of the top 10 was Richard Regan Jr. in 11th, followed by Jim Westerfield. Solid run for him in 12th. Then Mark Halen, last driver on the lead lap, in 13th. Dalton Geyer, Mike Richter, Patrick Cowgill, Doug Evans, and Nicholas Hunter all 1 lap down. Stacy Hunter 2 laps down. And then Brett Adams completing the top 20.
From there, it was DNFs, unfortunately, for the remaining drivers. But our winner is here to talk to us, Bradley Hawley. Brad, congratulations. First one other than Regan to claim more than one victory this season. But before the race, it looked like your qualifying wasn't that hot. Was this a lack of practice, or what kept you down the order there?
No, I just missed turn 1, and it cost me quite a bit. So, I mean, qualifying, yeah, it's important, but I try to focus on race pace more than anything.
Speaking of that, yours looked pretty good. You were up to the lead before we even got to the pit stops. Once those started happening, though, were you keeping an eye on those that were ducking down in the lane just to kind of see what the undercut was looking like?
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like if the undercut could have gone both ways. You know, the right front fell off so much, and you had to back off quite a bit compared to qualifying just to try to save it. And I felt like with I think Abner and Conker coming in the same lap, I was pretty confident in Daniel going in a lap before me.
That makes sense. Obviously, strength in numbers there. That not everybody could make a bad call on that one. Even still, this edges you forward in hopes of chasing down Conker, who's still yet to win a race. Last round, no drop on that. What do you think it's going to shake out like when we get to Iowa?
We'll have to see. I mean, Iowa is definitely a tricky track, and there's a lot can happen there. So to me, it's, you know, I got to just stay in contention and stay up front and see if Conker has any issues and try to capitalize on it.
We'll look out for you. Congratulations on the win, Brad.
Thank you very much.
That was Bradley Hawley in the 184 truck tonight, taking the victory, as Chris has also caught up with the man in second place, Daniel Knight.
Well, Daniel, great run today. You led some laps up front. Truck looked really fast. Did you have anything for Bradley, you think?
Obviously not. No, I once I got out to the lead there, I was just trying to save my stuff, and you know, I guess Brad saved a little bit more and was able to get by me, and then it was just kind of followed the leader from there on out. So
I was gonna say the track looked like you could run just about everywhere, but everyone looked pretty even. Were you able to get comfortable, find a nice place to run, or were you still searching around trying to get every little bit out of it you could?
Yeah, the aero push is real bad here, especially in the trucks, and you could run wherever you wanted to as long as you were patient and didn't try to get back on the throttle too early or drive it in too deep. So I was really just trying to stick with Brad and not overdrive the car. And once I was kind of settled in second there, I just didn't want Josh and Abner to catch me back there.
All right, we head to Iowa next week, a short track to end the season. How are you feeling about that one coming up?
I'm looking forward to it. I got my first win in PRL in the trucks at Iowa a couple of years ago, so it's been good to me. And I always like short tracks over a mile and a half in these anyway, so I'm looking forward to it for sure.
All right, Daniel, anybody you want to thank to help make tonight possible for you?
Oh yeah, all the run shotgun guys for being a lot of fun to race with. Same with the What About guys. Me, Brad, Barron, Mark Halen, a bunch of guys just got back from a trip to Dakota where we got rained on a bunch, but it was still fun to meet up with those guys. So, yeah, and GSRC, PRL, all you guys that make this worthwhile to come out and race around with some friends on a Wednesday night.
All right, Daniel, congratulations on a good run. Hopefully we talk to you next week. Back to you, Joe.
That's going to bring us to our third place finisher, Josh Conker. Josh, what's it going to take to get you at the top step of the podium? It's another bit of valuable points, but can this go on forever?
Joe, I really hope it doesn't go on forever. It's been a good, a really good stretch. Yes, we've come up short, haven't won a race, but consistency is really key. So as long as I stay consistent and keep my head down, I'm sure we'll come out in the top step at some point here.
I haven't quite figured out how the bonus points shook out, but I do know at the very least Holly is going to get 2 more points on you. Does that 10-point gap concern you heading into Iowa?
Not too much. I know Brad's really good. As we kind of saw tonight, he had like really, really good pace that no one else was able to kind of find there on the long run. But yeah, I think I should be okay for the most part. Definitely going to put the reps in at Iowa and make sure that the deficit stays at 10 points.
Talk about that opening lap wreck too. That was pretty wild for us to watch. I made the comment, if you would have told me that the one race that Regan didn't win when showing up was him making a mistake on the first lap, I wouldn't have believed you. Did it kind of blow your mind to see him spin on his own like that?
Yeah, so it caught all of us by surprise. He even said himself in the Discord, he said that the truck just randomly broke loose out of nowhere. So he wasn't expecting it. We definitely weren't expecting it, especially from the caliber of driver that Richard is. So yeah, just really caught us by surprise. He saved it for the most part, and then everybody else kind of got collided in afterwards. But yeah, for Rich to make the smallest mistake like that was not something that anyone would expect.
Well, we'll keep an eye out, see if you can finally break that duck with a victory or potentially a championship at Iowa. But congratulations on a podium.
Yes, thank you very much.
That was Josh Conker, third place here today. And that closes our interview. So we want to thank the sponsors for this series before we head out, starting with Simulation Motorsports Affinity. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And NinjaTrader. Get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance at NinjaTrader.com. And finally, Butt Kicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen if you'd like to check out her Bandcamp to see and hear more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Chris, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. There's also our social media outlets, and they're listed at the bottom. If you'd like to support the channel, our merchandise store is simply simracingmerch.com/GSRC, and we also have a link for that in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because the next race a week from now at Iowa, Wednesday, June 2nd, will be at 9 p.m. Eastern, and that will decide it all. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.